Hey there, I'm Sarita, and you're about to experience the modern approach to well-being where you get to establish the best and most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. I'm on a mission to help you declutter energy and reclaim your power so you can be a magnet to what you desire. If you're looking for the optimal blend of mindset and healing, you're in the right place. My goal in this podcast is to share tools, resources, and practices that will help you along your healing journey. I'm so excited to be here with you today, so welcome to Back to Here with Sarita. Let's get started.
Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to Back to Here with Sarita, the new Manifesting Paradigm podcast. I was just realizing that today, this particular episode is my first solo episode of 2025. And I love that it's episode 55 as well. If you're into angel numbers or numerology, you will know that 5 means big changes ahead or changes to come. So 55, the more numbers stacked together, means that message more amplified. So love that it's 55. And that is so true. There are big changes ahead of us. In the United States, of course, there is a lot going on, big changes constantly happening. And also astrologically, worldly, we've got a lot going on. But this particular episode is not going to be talking about astrology. We'll be actually talking about my 30-day experiment that occurred from December through January. Very exciting stuff. But before I jump into all that, I wanted to circle back with you and just say welcome to this particular podcast. This is my second episode of 2025. If you have been following me for a while, you will know that this is my third year of this podcast. And in reflection, as 2024 came to a close, I was really reflecting on all the lessons that I've been learning through being a podcaster and a creative person. So constantly creating content on social media, here on this podcast, which you will see here on YouTube, or if you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple. It's an amazing position to be in, content creator, consistency, courage, all those things. It's been really fun learning more about myself as a creative, learning more about myself as a coach, learning more about myself in this whole entire process. So love that you are here and love that you follow me. And love that you are into manifestation. The beauty of this particular podcast is that it blends a really cool integration of manifestation, self-love, and healing. And I talk a lot more heavily now around manifestation because that is what I call myself, a manifestation coach, and more specifically, a mindful manifestation coach. So what I do more specifically is I help you embrace a paid-for lifestyle. And for me, a paid for lifestyle before really cultivated a paid for lifestyle from my blood, sweat, and tears. And now I utilize the tools of intentional manifesting to bring things into my life, manifest things, call things into my life with a lot more ease. And one of the things that I intentionally manifested in the last couple years is a work from anywhere lifestyle. If you had known me about 5 some years ago, you would have known me as a person that was working in a cubicle in an insurance job. And I really felt like I was a slave to that type of work. The ROI was just not paying off. And I'm not just talking about the money that I was receiving paycheck wise, but more around the ROI, which is the return on investment in my life. I was a very, very unhappy, bitter, overweight. I was an alcoholic. I had very little self-love practices. I had no boundaries. I was very much in my victimhood. And then I discovered the law of attraction and the world of manifesting. And I started doing the inner work. And things started to shift very slowly, not this huge, massive shift that I really wanted, but it was just consistently showing up, putting it into practice. And one of the things that I always wanted to manifest was a work from anywhere dream lifestyle, meaning that I could be on the open road, I could go anywhere. And with everything, I just took very, very small steps. And now, 5 some years later, here I am, literally working from anywhere. I get to travel. I get to take this podcast wherever I want it. And I get to live this freedom, abundant lifestyle that I always dreamed of. So, what I'm trying to say is that it's totally possible. And that is what I help support you in creating a lifestyle, creating a life that you absolutely love, that's in congruency with your authenticity, and helping you wake up to the life that you absolutely love living. And so, with everything that's new, when we try a new sport out or a new hobby out or manifestation, we need to take really small steps and try to figure things out with trial and testing. There's a lot of trial and error that has gone into the last 5 years of my life with learning what works and what doesn't work, taking the experiences that I've cultivated and taking them as feedback for the things that may work and may not work. And so when I started to expand and grow, I started to evaluate and look back. And then I came up with a very simple 3-step manifestation framework, which I talk a lot more heavily about in my freebie offer, the 3 steps to manifest your paid for lifestyle. And for this particular podcast episode, I'm going to break it down a little bit more into very simple steps. I go into a lot more detail in the 3 steps to manifest your paid for lifestyle. But for this podcast and the purpose of what I'll be talking about, I'm going to break it down into 3 simple steps in manifestation framework, which is very simply intention, energy, and trust. I've talked about this most likely on this particular podcast, and then definitely on my social media, on my Instagram. I've talked about this in my stories, and I talk about this a lot in my Manifestation Mondays when I'm sharing this with my other guests and then also with my audience, that manifestation can be broken down very simply into these very simple steps. So, intention is basically getting really clear on the thing that you desire to call in or create in your life. And then, energy, of course, is releasing and clearing energy, and then also becoming the energy of the person that receives, clearing that vessel, being open to receive. And then, trust, of course, is trusting the process, trusting your own process, trusting the outcome, and trusting knowing that the thing that you really desire is going to come into fruition. So, the thing about being a manifestation coach and being a person in integrity is that I will never ever share with you any tips, tools, or resources that I personally have not tried and tested myself. I'm not the type of person who is going to recommend something and not have it be something that I've already implemented into my life. Oftentimes, we are in this very daily routine and we don't really get the opportunity as often unless we are seeking it or doing something that's going to take us outside of our comfort zone. If we try something new, if we do something that's different outside of the day to day, most likely we will not be expanding and changing and getting outside of that comfort area and expanding to new horizons. And so, this particular episode that I'll be sharing with you, my 30-day experiment, was specifically that, me getting outside my comfort zone and doing the thing and implementing those things that I talk about constantly on my social media and here on my podcast. And you may be asking, what is the inspiration behind doing this 30-day experiment? So for me, like I said, a lot of it has to do with wanting to put myself outside of my comfort zone and really try and test the things that I talk about all the time. And then also, one of the things that I personally have an area that I would like to strengthen, and an area that I notice that a lot of people come to me for coaching, and that I see on social media where people are having a problem. So I've talked about this before, that we are in an information age. There's so much information out there for us in this podcast and other podcasts and books on YouTube, all the things. And so the problem that I see, that's really not necessarily about the desire of what it is that people want, because most people really do know what they want and they desire. Sometimes it needs to get honed in a little bit more, but the real realization or the understanding that they can actually get the thing that they desire. So what happens in that process, what manifests in that process, is that people have this desire, people have this desired outcome for something, but yet what keeps them frozen and keeps them in inactivity is the lack of trust. in the outcome or the process itself. And this is the area that I realize that I have problems with, is that trusting the process, trusting that that thing will actually come into fruition. And so the best way to do that not only is to trust, but actually to take aligned human action. This is the disconnect that I see definitely in the manifestation community and the people that come to me, is it's not the matter of not knowing what they want. It's a matter of being inundated with so much information and not really knowing how to navigate and take the aligned action steps for themselves to collapse time and to actually put and integrate the things that they learned into the manifestation process. And so it's very hard for us sometimes to wrap our human brains around the fact that the thing that we really desire is meant for us, and that the fact that we desire it simply is that we can actually believe that we can manifest it into our reality. And what better way to strengthen the muscle of trust and to build things in a co-creative process than to do this 30-day experiment when I was doing things in real time. So I got a plane ticket out to the East Coast in December. My childhood best friend lives out there. And I had a place to stay, but I didn't know what was going to happen afterwards. And that was the exciting part of the whole journey, was that I was co-creating my intentions and speaking things into existence as they came. Of course, a lot of trust came into this process and a lot of intention came into the process. And that is what I'll be talking to you about in this particular episode, which is very exciting. And so my question is to you, have you ever done that before? Have you ever just gotten a plane ticket and gone somewhere you don't know what's going to happen, or you've just taken off, or you just started something and you don't know how it's going to unfold, but then as you look back, it's amazing how things unfolded for you specifically. So this is what I'm going to be sharing with you in this particular episode, and the things that I did to manifest some amazing things like places to stay, free cups of coffee, food, and most juicily, I don't know if that's a word, the most mind-blowing sex. And believe it or not, these things came into fruition just by simply following this 3-step manifestation process, which I will share with you. So I left San Diego in December 20th. Like I said, I had a 2-week stay at a place, a 2-week house sit. I was visiting my childhood best friend, and I really had no plan after that. I didn't know what was going to come into fruition for me, but what I did have was intention. And so that's the first step that I know is very important within the manifestation process. It's very important for us to claim the knowing and claim what it is that we desire to create. For me, when I went out to the East Coast, all I knew was one of the most important things was I needed to have places to stay, right? I didn't want to be living out of my car. I knew that wasn't going to happen. I already knew that there was places that were going to come into fruition for me that needed to happen, that were going to be in alignment and congruency with the things that I needed. So being able to manifest those things with ease and having the finances to have this all fall into place with ease. And like I said, the most important part was getting really clear on my intention. So for me, in that particular time slot of those 30 days, when I was thinking, when I was setting my intentions for that time, and again, I didn't really have the thought like, oh, I'm going to stay here 30 days. It was just how it manifested into the 30 days. What I knew was I wanted to have aligned locations close to DC, actually the city, because I absolutely love that city. My friend lives a little bit outside the city in the suburbs, but I wanted to be in reasonable drivable distance, and reasonable drivable distance for me is like 30 some minutes within the DC area. I wanted to manifest locations that were specifically cats, because I knew that cats allowed a little bit more flexibility of time with me. With dogs, obviously, you need to be there a lot more frequently. So having a cat, it was having a little bit more flexibility and being able to leave them a little bit longer and then go explore and do all the things. I wanted to definitely experience the whole experience itself, and something that was brought forth in my knowing or understanding more in December, realizing that I wanted to be in a position where I would feel taken care of. I would feel like I was in my feminine and having a masculine take care of me in a relaxing way. And I wasn't necessarily thinking like a man, it was more just the experience of the manifestation and just knowing and trusting that I could be in my feminine energy to surrender and to allow and to receive, and that God sourced universe, masculine oriented type of energy. Yes, God is also a very feminine energy as well. I definitely believe that. But in this particular instance, I wanted to cultivate the experience that I was experiencing a more feminine receiving experience. And like I said, this was something that I realized in December through a spiritual feminine embodiment healing group that I've been a part of since early December, learning to heal my actual feminine. And that was one of the ways that I wanted to cultivate an experience that was in the receiving, which was to be a lot more in my feminine energy. And believe it or not, feminine energy, or the experience of being in your feminine, actually has a lot to do with manifesting. I'll get a lot more into that in a moment. So, like I said, I wasn't really sure how these things would come into my life or play out, but what I was very clear on was what it was that I wanted to experience. I wanted to experience abundance. I wanted to experience a safe place to stay. I wanted to experience being in my feminine and being able to receive with ease. I wanted to experience all these things happening in flow. And so the next thing that I wanted to do or needed to do was change my self concept. I started to believe, of course, that all of this was possible, that I was worthy of receiving the things that it is I wanted to desire. I started to believe that it was possible for me to manifest this. I started to believe that I was very worthy of receiving the things that I wanted. And also, I got in major, major gratitude. I started to play this really fun little game when I got in my car, when I got behind the wheel of my car and was driving around, that I would stay in gratitude the whole entire time that I was driving. So I would say things like, I'm very grateful for, this particular car that I'm driving. I'm grateful for the place that I'm staying. I'm grateful for the food that I have. Just being in gratitude for the things that I actually have in that moment. And then the fun thing was putting myself into the version of myself that already had that thing. So being in gratitude, in future gratitude for the thing that I desire to manifest. Thank you so much, God Universe, for allowing me to manifest this home with a cat. That's a 2-week stay in a place that's close to Washington, D.C., the city. Getting very specific with the desired outcome, and then also being in gratitude as if I already had that thing manifested into my reality. So this leads us into step 2, which is energy. And I talked a little bit about that in the last step, where I was getting behind the wheel and being in complete gratitude, because energy is very important. I'll talk about the energetics portion in just a second, but right now I'm going to talk about the importance of our aligned human footsteps. Remember how I was saying how a lot of people will have very clear desires and very clear intentions, but the lack of trust will put them in a place where they feel like they are inactive or inactivity because they are not able to implement the things that they really want to, because they are taking unaligned human footsteps. That was me for a long time when I was talking about my paid for lifestyle with blood, sweat, and tears. I was really going against the authentic human grain of myself as a person. And so my ROI was displaying or manifesting a life that was just very unhappy. And so when we step back and get in congruency with who we are authentically as a person and take aligned human footsteps, aligned action in the direction of our desired outcome, things will occur with a lot more ease. When I set my intentions and my desires out there, then I took aligned human footsteps, like applying for jobs, swiping right on dating profiles, getting really clear and setting money aside for the things that I wanted to manifest. It was really, really fun to see how things came into fruition. Day after day, I would play little games with the universe just with the co-creative process, just to have a really fun time with it. And then I very much recommend you do this as well. Something as simple as saying, thank you, universe, for this amazing parking spot that I got right in front of the gym so I don't have to walk in the freezing cold and 20 degrees in the morning, right? So simple things like that. Thank you so much, universe, for that amazing cup of coffee that I just manifested from the person in the coffee line right before me. Those particular things were really fun to just play around with, or just making the declaration, today, universe, I would really love to manifest a free lunch. And it was so much fun to lean in and trust and expand that strengthening muscle that I had, that am creating and cultivating to receive those particular things. And those things that I just listed are things that actually came into fruition, came into my experience just by simply setting the intention and trusting that that thing will come into my life. So let's talk about the energy or the energetics of energy when it comes to manifestation. I've talked about this in this podcast before, how energy is the communication to the universe. The universe doesn't understand anything else than energy or vibration. It understands when we're coming at it with very clear energy. When we're scattered energy, it's very hard to understand what's going on. Just like a person who's coming at you with very hot and cold energy, it's hard to decipher what it is that person wants or what their intention is. Same thing when it comes to us and our manifestation, coming to the universe, coming to God's source with very clear energy and the vibration of knowing that we are meant to receive what we really desire. And so I wanted to clarify something that I think is really important when it comes to manifesting, that I think a lot of manifestation coaches do not talk about, which I realize is something that's really important when it comes to receiving the thing that it is we really desire to manifest. There is a difference between getting and receiving. Manifestation is never about getting. Manifestation is never about getting or obtaining. Let me tell you the difference between receiving and getting, because there's a different energy behind it. Getting is the act of obtaining or acquiring something, and it also implies the effort behind obtaining the actual thing that we want or the desired outcome, as though we need it. So it comes from an energy of scarcity. Receiving, on the other hand, implies a more passive role in the actual action of receiving something, like receiving a gift. That gift comes to you with basically little to no effort, and you didn't necessarily have to do anything to receive it or collect it. Do you see the difference? The energy of your intention is read by the universe. The universe does not respond to effort, it responds to energy. So this is why it's important to constantly be cleansing and clearing your energy, and so you can make room for the actual blessing. And this is what sets me apart from other manifestation coaches, is that I blend not only the whole self-concept, which is very important, the embodiment practices, important for you to become the version of yourself, like I said, in gratitude for the thing that you've actually desired, but also that you are releasing and clearing on a somatic body level, the healing work, so you can manifest those things with ease. I've talked about this before. It is the law of vacuum. In order for us to receive the thing that we desire, we need to make room for the thing that we desire. And how do we make room for the thing that we desire? We constantly are clearing and cleansing and becoming that version of ourselves, and then also cleansing the area, cleansing the old, uprooting the things that no longer serve us to make room for that blessing that we really desire to manifest into our life. And so it was really amazing to see the things that manifested into my life when I was clear and took aligned action. Not only did I manifest 2 amazing spots that were close to the DC area, I was able to enjoy the amazing winter storm. And I know for some people that live in winter every single year, it's very frustrating sometimes to have that experience. But for this California girl, it was really fun to be playing in the snow and hang out in the snow and be snowbound, and then just to enjoy being in like the full winter. And one of the places that I manifested, I had an amazing, amazing kitchen that was beautiful for cooking, and also an amazing bathroom, amazing master bedroom that had the most amazing hot tub that I've ever seen before. And every single night that I took a bath in that bathtub, in that huge hot tub, I thanked the universe and I said something to the effect of, "Thank you so much, God, Source, Universe, for this. More of this, please." And I do this because I like to reconfirm to myself, reconfirm to my body, my nervous system, reconfirm to higher source, higher power, that these are the type of experiences, situations that are not only my new normal and the things that I desire to call into my life, but the things that I want to experience even more and more on the daily. And bonus, both of the places that I manifested end up being really, really close to the man that I actually had started talking to and went on dates with. And I didn't even try to make it that way. Okay, let's get into the more juicy part of the episode, the mind blowing sex portion. I want to preface this by saying that I've been doing a lot of inner work around my sexuality and sensuality as a woman. And it was started in a much deeper dive back in March 2023 when I started to work with sexual coaches, sensual coaches, and therapists. And I want to say that yes, 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 100% yes, you can definitely manifest amazing sex. And even if you are in a long term partnership, I've seen it happen with people that I know. And like with everything else that I've shared with you, I took that 3-step framework, the 3-step process that I've been sharing with you in this episode, and that I expand a lot more in my 3 steps to manifest a paid for lifestyle, that I just implemented these 3 steps, the intention, energy, and trust, in myself first. And so then I brought it into the sex department. So what people forget is that manifestation is a inside job. That changing your self concept and working on yourself is a integral step to actually manifesting the things that you desire to cultivate and experience in your 3D reality. You'll see that your outside environment starts to change once you are doing the change within yourself. And the bedroom, the actual bedroom when you're having sex, is such a great way to see this part come into fruition. Like I said, most likely I will do a whole podcast episode about this because there's a lot more to dive into. But simply, I realized one of the things that it boiled down to for me specifically was my act of receiving. One of the things that I found in December as I was working through my workshop, which is my spiritual embodied feminine group that I'm a part of, that I'm deep diving a lot more into my femininity and healing my feminine wounds, and to be cultivating a lot more of a self-love practice, especially when it comes to being a woman. I found that one of the things that I really desired so deeply was that I wanted to be taken care of, cherished, worshiped, and provided for. One of the things I realized was that I didn't get to experience that as a child. I realized that a lot of my emotional needs were not met. And so, of course, that ended up cultivating experiences and attracting partners into my life that were not listening to me, that were not aligned with me, that were not supportive of me, of the things that I really desired, which was to be understood, to be listened to be appreciated, to be taken care of. But it takes 2 to tango, right? Because I didn't realize that was something that I really desired on a deep level. Yes, I had this knowing deep inside of me, but it wasn't something that I could actively vocalize or say in regards to like, these are the things that I want to experience. But then also too, I wasn't cultivating that experience within myself either. I realized as a child that I had to navigate my own emotions very, very deeply. And so I ended up manifesting experiences where I was just having to do that on my own. And what ended up being a manifestation of all that was I manifested being a controller and somebody that was distrusting of men, specifically distrusting of people that wanted to be in the position of taking care of me or providing for me or loving me. But I distrusted them because I didn't allow myself to be outside of the controller, because I was so accustomed to controlling my environment, controlling the things around me in order not to get hurt. And this really came to light after I broke off my 8-year relationship. But it wasn't until I started doing a lot deeper dive, like I said, back in March of 2023, really uncovering a lot of aspects around my femininity, around the things that I actually truly desired, and that I wanted things actually in reverse. I didn't want to be in control. I didn't want to be the person that took charge out of the situation or experience or relationship. I wanted to be the person that would just show up, be taken care of, provided for, and just fully being in my feminine energy. And so, interestingly enough, this is very, very similar with my relationship to God, universe, source. Is that the old self, my old self who was manifesting a paid for lifestyle through my blood, sweat, and tears, was somebody that was in control, somebody that was not trusting that God's source universe was going to provide for me. And so I would take things onto myself, into my accord, and just go forge ahead with no plan, no action plan, with really no thought of what was going to manifest. And realizing that being somebody that was so much in control ended up manifesting experiences that were a lot more heartbreaking than I really wanted to experience. And so once I decided to actually step back and attempt to surrender, and like I said, this was something that I tested and tried over and over again. And believe me, I hit my head up against a wall, and I still continue to hit my head up against a wall when it comes to trusting the process and knowing that things are working in my favor, and knowing that I can trust that person or God, universe, source that's in my experience, that I didn't want to feel that way over and over again, that it is all working in my favor, and that I know that the thing that I really desire to experience, which is being in surrender mode, being in my feminine, being in my authenticity, and all those things, that could come to fruition when I allowed and trusted. And so, of course, I started really, really small. Once that thing came up into my consciousness, I started to trust the universe with very little things. Like I said, I liked playing with the universe with little tests here and there. I shouldn't say tests, but little experiments here and there, manifesting a cup of coffee, manifesting a parking spot, little things. And so I decided to make that flow into my dating life. I saw in my most recent 6-month relationship that I really, really was controlling the outcome. I realized that the man that I was seeing was not allowed to be in his masculine because I was being in my masculine. And that's the interesting thing about dynamics, is that one person will be in their masculine, one person will be in their feminine. Obviously, those things flow and flow, but if one person is acting in one position all the time, naturally the other person is going to have to be in the other position. So for me, because I was constantly being in my masculine, being in my distrust and my, I should say, unhealthy masculine, being untrusting, being, or distrusting, I should say, not releasing and surrendering, not allowing myself to bloom and blossom. Of course, the other person had to be in their more feminine energy, and that cultivated a relationship that was very difficult for me and challenging for me, and it didn't manifest something that I wanted outcome wise. So when that came up to consciousness, I started to realize this was something that I could play around with. And so I did my first trial test run in July 2024 when I was in Los Angeles. I got back on dating apps, and I was very clear in doing the 3 steps, getting very intentional about what I wanted to experience. And I manifested, even though it was a very short experience, it was still something I could take with me and say, okay, there is a way, there is verification for me that this kind of thing can manifest into my reality. I manifested a date where the guy was very much in his healthy masculine. We had an amazing connection. He paid for things. It was just a very, very healthy experience. And again, it was like just a date, but it was a connection that was also meant for me to experience and to validate me as a person in her healthy feminine, and allowing myself to surrender and to bloom and to blossom in that very short experience. And the connection was great. So there was verification for me that definitely I could cultivate an experience like that because I had done the inner work, because I was very intentional about what I wanted to experience, because I was trusting the process. And so, of course, I tested my 3-step framework process in DC, and I got really, really clear about what I wanted to experience there in DC when it came to manifesting a man into my experience. And again, what I'm saying is that it wasn't just the man himself, it was more the experience that I wanted to cultivate the whole time I was there in DC, realizing in December that I wanted to be a person, wanted to identify as a person, as a woman who was able to surrender, who was able to allow, who was able to receive, who was able to trust. It wasn't just the whole experience with just like the dating, but the whole experience of the 30 days that I was there. And so, like I said, I cultivated all this within myself first. I didn't have the expectation that that person would bring all that to me, because how can I expect somebody to bring all that to me when I'm not doing that myself first? Right? It's very simple dynamic in relationships, very simple when it comes to manifestation. We can't have the expectation that that person is going to heal us or to cultivate everything for us, because that person is not our savior. We need to cultivate all that and create all that within ourselves. That's why the inner work is so important. And that's why when I was saying, when we do the inner work, when we are cleansing and clearing, when we are removing these old stories, our environment, our outside experience, our 3D reality will start to change. And so, an indicator, feedback, like I mentioned, feedback of our outside reality is feedback to us that maybe something needs to be shifted. Maybe something needs to just change a little within ourselves. Maybe the needle needs to be moved a little bit different for us to experience something in our outside world. And so, of course, for me, I got very clear. I declared it. I cultivated it within myself. I did the human footsteps, with like the dating apps. I trusted my gut with certain profile pictures, and I let it flow and I trusted. And I approached this particular experience a little bit differently. Remember that experience I had in July of 2024 really validated me and made me understand, okay, this is my new normal. I can experience things like this, and I can take this to a higher and deeper level. And so I allowed myself for this time, instead of being the person, because this is my experience in the past, is that I'm the type of person, I'm an Aries, I go after things that I want. I pursue things. I go forth. I chase. And so with this particular experience, I decided then and there, I made that decision that I wanted to be the person that was being pursued. I wanted to be the person that wanted to receive. I wanted to be the person where that other person was chasing me. And I wanted to cultivate again the feminine experience of receiving and allowing. And it was absolutely amazing to see how everything came into fruition. And believe me, it was so challenging for me at first, because my old identity was the type of person that was in control, was wanting to experience something. And I thought, in order for me to experience something, I need to control the way that it comes into play. I need to be front and center. I need to be the main character in this experience to be able to cultivate this experience, right? But I didn't realize that, yes, I can still have major first character or main character energy and still be in my healthy feminine, still be in the identity of the person that allows and trusts things to unfold. It was absolutely amazing. And again, every single moment I had to tell myself, okay, Sarita, remember the person you are embodying. Remember the person that you are cultivating. Remember this energy, right? The energy, the intentions there. The energy's there, and I get to trust that this is all going to come into play. And it was amazing how much this particular person was in their healthy, masculine, integrous energy the whole entire time from the moment that we started interacting. I was provided for. I felt safe, planned. He paid, he provided. And it was so beautiful that in that process, right? In that process, and I'm not saying that it was about him. I'm not saying that it's about like that guy. Yes, of course. He was somebody I attracted because I took the energy and effort to cultivate those things within myself and to become the identity of the woman who wanted to experience those things. And so I attracted this man into my life that was in integrity, in his healthy masculine, and was very, very kind and loving the whole entire time that I was there. And so it allowed me that experience, not the man itself, right? I want to emphasize that it wasn't necessarily the man, it was the energy of the man, the energy of the experience that allowed me to bloom and to blossom in the process. I was able to experience myself in my fullness. And of course, that translated into the bedroom. It was because I was able to cultivate those things within myself first, get very intentional of where my energy was, and also clear my energy to prepare myself for that, right? And also to reflect and to anchor in that experience I had in July in 2024, where I had that amazing date and know that, yes, I can't experience that thing again because I've already experienced it once, right? Very simply, like when you manifest a parking space, you're like, man, that was really easy. Okay. Awesome, universe. I can do that again. We can co-create this process all over again. And so, yes, when I go to places, I'm like, I'm manifesting a parking spot. Before I had lunch with a friend in DC that I hadn't seen for years and years, as I was walking to go to lunch, I just had this thought like, she's paying for lunch. And it wasn't that I was trying to have it paid for, but it was just this download that I had that I was like, okay, I know she's going to pay for lunch. And not that I didn't have the money to pay for lunch, but I was in that trust and I was in that surrender and I was in that cultivating experience of wanting or getting the things and receiving things with ease, right? That it was. She said, yes, I'm paying for lunch. She put down her card and there was little objection, very little objection on my part. I said, you know what? Thank you so much. Instead of fighting it, instead of being in control and being the one like, no, you don't need to do that. Receiving the gift, receiving the abundance, receiving the manifestation, right? Same thing when it came to this date, receiving the date, receiving the person that was paying for everything, who planned everything, who provided everything, and being in this place of like complete trust and surrender that manifested some, yes, amazing, mind-blowing sex in the bedroom. And so that's our last and final step, trust. And I talked about that a lot just right now in releasing and surrendering and letting go and trusting myself, trusting my process, and trusting that I'm cultivating the experience that I want and desire. And I feel like that has been the area of my life that I have struggled with the most with the things that I shared with you, realizing certain behaviors and things that I fell into and patterns that I felt into because of some of the experiences or a lot of the experiences that I had as a child. And so it's just a question to you. What are some of the things that you do to distrust? What are some of the ways in which you are actually cultivating an experience of distrust? Because if you look at your life a little bit more under a microscope, you'll see that you definitely are the person that is cultivating or creating that experience. It is your responsibility in being able to heal those problems, heal those things in order to create a reality that you are more in love with than the one that you have at this time. And so it starts small, right? You take little human footsteps, you take little intentional steps, you take little energy steps, you take little trust steps. All of these things that I shared with you with the 3-step process, the intention, energy, and trust, it's very important to start small. You can only eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? That's the phrase that we talk about. And it's important to start really small so you can develop a more concise relationship with manifestation and also to build up your confidence around these three things. And like I've mentioned a couple times during this episode, I go a little bit deeper into the 3-step framework that I utilize with my clients and within my Bliss method and within my one-on-one coaching, the 3 steps to manifest your paid for lifestyle. I have the link below. And the steps are called something a little bit different within that 3-step framework. However, like I said, for this particular episode, I chunked it down a little bit to be more digestible for you so you can really take this information and run with it and really implement it right away. So if trusting the process and clearing your energy and manifesting the life that you really desire to manifest is something that you want support on, I actually have a brand new offering for you. It's in its beta stages. So it's really exciting. It's not for sale yet. So I am currently looking for 2 more people because the slots are filling up really quickly. I'm looking for 2 more people that desire to heal their love and money relationship because it's very closely intertwined with this new unpackaged offering. Like I said, it's not packaged yet. So this particular offering is exchange only. So basically what it is you will get 3 sessions of coaching for me in exchange for a video testimony. And that's it. Right. And so this particular offering is called Financial Code Activation. It will only be available until the end of this month, February 2025. And like I said, I'm only offering it to 2 more people because I've already had a few people sign up for this. And it's in its beta stages. So it's an amazing way for you to actually get free coaching with me, Sarita, for 3 sessions. And we'll go a lot deeper into helping you heal your relationship with money and love and developing a more keen sense of trust in your relationship to manifesting within yourself and getting really clear on that intention and that energy and that trust factor. I will have that link below so you can go ahead and sign up or let me know. You can DM me at Sarita Wellness on my Instagram or my TikTok, or you can send an email at info@saritawellness.com. Like I said, this is only available for 2 more people until the end of this month, and it's called Financial Code Activation. And once I have those 2 people and they're active, I will close this particular offering, and then it will be packaged up and I will be offering it as my one-on-one coaching session. At this time, I don't have a price point just yet, but make sure to, keep in touch and I will let you know. And I will again have the link below. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this 30-day experiment that I did on the East Coast from December 20th through January 20th, and really helping me to become a better version of myself, right? That's exactly what I set out to do, to integrate all the things that I share with you on this podcast that I implement on my daily life, and then also taking it into basically the next step, which is like the co-creative process and reality and getting myself outside my comfort zone so I can really try and test this process. And through the 30-day experiment, for me, I was able to cultivate an amazing, amazing experience through that. And what came from that is having a stronger muscle around my intentions, having a stronger muscle around my energy, a stronger muscle, much more in my trust in the process, my trust in myself. And so that allows me and supports me to be an even better manifestation coach for you, a better podcaster, a better human being for you. So when you come to me for support in these areas, I can definitely guide you and support you in all the things in manifesting that life that you truly, truly love, love, love. Thank you so much for being here. Keep being the amazing you that you are. Take care.
Hey love, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you adored what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review on the platform you are listening to this episode on. By doing this, you are helping my mission to impact other women with their healing journeys. If you aren't already following me on social media, make sure to connect with me at Sarita Wellness to get your weekly dose of inspiration. I can't wait to be with you in the next episode, but in the meantime, keep being the amazing you that you are.